Hello, hi, welcome to This Is Your Spotlight. I am your host, Eurydice Roman, and today I am here with somebody who I've admired from afar because he's tenacious, he's determined, and he really is passionate about what he does. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about Chef Manny, correction, Manny Infused Chef.
Thank
I'm
you.
not gonna throw your government out there because I ain't gonna do all that. So I seldom ever speak of this topic. So I don't talk about food enough on my show. I am not a skinny person, but I do consume food, just in case if anybody was worried. Um, that's one. Two, um, this is interesting for me because I've never been to one of Manny's parties, though I should go to Manny's parties eventually one day.
We're waiting. We're waiting for you.
Oh, hmm. So yes. What Manny means by infused, for those of you who do not know, it is cannabis infused food. So let's see. You started this. When was your starting point with this specific?
So, my wife and I started making infused foods for patients back in 2016, and
Wow.
yeah, we were delivering infused meals directly to patients wherever they needed them throughout New York and New Jersey.
Hmm.
Sometimes to the home, sometimes to the hospital, sometimes
Hmm.
to assisted living centers, depending on the person's needs and depending on the patient and the member. It was a referral based type of service. And so if you had a need for cannabis infused products, we were filling the need. We were filling your order. And we were
That's
assisting
cool.
people with different.
So you started kind of like a Meals on Wheels, but you were focused on, you know,
Yes.
I'm sorry for the comparison of
Yes,
Meals on
meals. No,
Wheels,
that's okay.
but
That's a great comparison because they've been doing comparison.
yeah,
They've been doing great things for people in need for years. So
mm,
I don't mind that at all. I think that's great. Meals on Wheels is a great
no, of
service for
course.
comparison.
And to be honest with you, I think now that it's been legalized, it's a lot more. There's a lot of more government involvement, and I think that's the tough part, especially if you have anything within the cannabis industry, especially with edibles or
Yeah.
food consumption or infused foods.
Hmm.
That there's so many, like for example, I'll give you an example. In Europe, there's certain stuff that we put on our foods that is actually banned in Europe, like
Right.
what high fructose corn syrup is banned in Europe. MSG is banned in Europe.
And colorants, certain food dyes and
Exactly,
colorants
like
like
red 40
cereals.
is
Yeah.
banned in Europe.
Fruit Loops is banned in Europe. The same Fruit
Yeah,
Loop cereal that's selling out in our stores, billions and billions of boxes of cereal are
exactly, yeah.
banned in
Or
certain parts
even
of
like
Europe.
what is it, tropophols, and in the food, and also like BHT, that's in like
Right.
certain foods and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Like because there's so much what is believed to be like curated, consumption. Why is it? How does that trickle down to what you do? Like, how badly
So
does it affect it?
it affects us, I would say, on a business level
Hmm.
and even on a personal level. We don't have a license. We are part of what's called the legacy market. So you would bring me as a patient your cannabis or your product, and I would add it and infuse it
Okay.
into our food. And
Right.
so, like if you let's say, like we're not authorized by the state to do it, but people have the needs, and so we fill people with the needs. Again, we're part of the legacy market. So if someone has hypertension, excuse me, or high blood pressure,
Hmm.
or pre-diabetic, or even a diabetic, now they would need something that's low glycemic, meaning low sugar, and maybe higher fat and moderate protein. So we would take that into account with the meat. If they want something that's like semi-keto, what people might call keto, we would use almond flour and use different types of infusions and extractions and a different composition of macros to fit that person's needs. So the government being involved and all of the prerequisites and licensing and legalization now, it has its pros and cons. Yeah.
True.
Mm-hmm.
No, it really does. And it's tough because, like, you want to keep your business afloat, but then there's some things that feel like that can compromise what you provide.
Of
So
course.
has that ever happened to you in terms of, like, it's like, yeah, it's like, I'm glad that, I can do certain things, and then there's certain things I can't provide because,
Mm-hmm.
with it, because of the such like strenuous or oversight.
Right now, the way that the New York program has been operating isn't really to our benefit, because there's nothing in the law specifically that helps a mobile educational service that would take place in different sites the way that our event does. Our event is an informative, educational, mature ambiance where people can consume without being judged and be dosed properly by professionals. Me calling myself a professional because we've been doing this for 7 years. We have the right know-how, experience, and calculations and formulas to figure out how much we're dosing and providing to a person. But the way that the laws are written and set up right now don't necessarily, they don't have a spot really for us. We don't
Oh.
fit. We don't fit the niche
Oh.
of how the laws are written out. But I'm sure coming down the line, it'll
Oh, yeah.
it'll come around. Sure.
So for give me an example of how your event would like go about, especially the educational component. How would you like? Would it be like, "Hi, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this Fusion experience,"
Mhm.
and tonight's going to be half and half, half recreation, but also proper education? Would it be something like that?
More or less. Well, so yes, so we receive our guests, we seat everyone, and we start to infuse them in stages and by steps. So
Okay.
we start them off with an infused drink. I tend to find out who's who. We like to control our environment and the audience, and so we know which guest wants a higher level of infusion, who's looking for a moderate level of infusion, and who wants a light level of infusion. Someone who might be totally new to infused foods might be there. And the educational point would come in where each and every course that we serve, I am explaining, we are going into detail as to what extraction was used and what process was used to infuse that drink or that meal, how many cannabinoids or THC percentage or grams of THC or cannabinoids might be found in that meal and in that actual course of the meal. So if it's the drink, we would talk to you and let the stage, well, there's usually a stage, let from the stage it be known to the guests, okay, your first drink is, let's say, the beet juice spritzer. And so that beet juice is infused with, let's say, a tincture. A tincture is an alcohol extraction, which is a faster acting infusion. Because there's no fat that needs to be digested or broken down, THC tends to be fat friendly. And so the lipids in your liver pick up on this fat when you eat an infused food like a brownie or a meal that was infused with fat. But the drink is infused with the tincture. So the tincture is an alcohol extraction. And because the alcohol extraction and the tincture goes direct to your liver when you drink something that's infused with that type of extraction and tincture, what happens is your liver quickly, rapidly turns the THC into delta 11. Delta 9 is the THC compound, that's a scientific term. And so delta 9 then becomes delta 11. Your body has endocannabinoid receptor system, and your body actually builds and makes cannabinoids. And so delta 11 is something that's long lasting and is broken down by the body in stages and phases, which is why a lot of people who have edibles have the experience of a longer lasting high or effects, sometimes even 8 hours, 12 hours, or even to the next day. A lot of people will have edibles and still feel the effects up to 24 hours later, depending
Whoa.
on dosage and how much they consume.
So, give me an example of what's considered high, moderate, and light
Well, okay,
infusion,
so
like by numbers, if you want to go.
endocannabinoid receptor system, which everyone has. Your cannabinoid receptor system is kind of unique from what we know now in research. That's what we've been taught, and so it really depends and varies per person. I had patients who needed around 500 milligrams per day to be able to sleep properly, to be able to function, and to be able to be out of pain. Cannabinoids and cannabis-infused foods are proven to be super
So
great
that's high. So
at,
that's the high level.
yes, 500 would be extremely high. So I'll go into that. So cannabinoids and cannabis itself is proven to be a great anti-inflammatory. And
Right.
so with that said, depending on how much the person needs or what their situation is, 500 milligrams would be considered high dosage, yes. California says that a dose should be 10 milligrams. And so edibles found in legal dispensaries throughout California, Oregon, and Colorado and Nevada, which where Las Vegas is located. Those dispensaries have their edibles capped out at 100 milligrams. 100 milligrams might not be enough for a person, and in those 100 milligrams in that package, the edible would be broken down into 10 pieces, so 10 dosages. So that's 10 milligram dosages, because California has found on their research and their science-backed studies that 10 milligrams should be considered a significant dosage of a cannabis-infused food.
No, I'm writing everything down for the public to show.
Good,
Because
good.
all
So
right, hold on. Wait, it says
500
here,
milligrams, yes, 500
high
milligrams
level
high.
cannabis, and then 100 is dispensary West Coast.
100 is the 100. I don't know where my finger would go. 100 is the cap that legal dispensaries have their edibles at now. And within that 100 milligrams, they would have 10 pieces, so 10 separate doses at 10 milligrams each.
Oh wow, 10 milligrams of the 100 milligrams.
Right.
Okay.
So there's 10 dosages within the 100 milligrams, which becomes 10 servings. Right.
Right.
At the dinner, our introductory drink is only 5 milligrams, so between 3 and 5 milligrams.
5 only?
So what we do is we like to whet your appetite and prepare your endocannabinoid receptors, endocannabinoid receptors, to receive more THC and more cannabinoids. And we follow a system of infusion, which we learned by Chef Chris, 20 past 4, which is called the Cedeno effect. It's a low and slow method of extracting the cannabinoids from the flower to infuse fat or alcohol tinctures. And so with that, we strip out all of the cannabinoids, terpenes, and they stay more intact. We do a combination of that and our own decarboxylated flour. So basically, there's a lot that goes into it, yeah. Decarboxylated flour is flour that's been prepared for infusion. The THC on raw flour is THCA.
Okay, so THC on a raw flour.
On the actual fresh flour itself is THCA. So that THCA doesn't necessarily give you any of the psychedelic or there you go. Yeah, right. I guess.
Try that. THCA. Sorry.
Right. So the A is the acid. The acid part is burned off out after 250 degrees, which is why people combust cannabis when they smoke it and they inhale the smoke. Now their lungs and their membrane has picked up on the cannabinoids and all of that, and that's where you get what people call the high, right?
Right.
If you eat that raw flour instead of rolling it up and smoking it, you would get some medicinal benefits like anti-inflammatory, sleep aid, and maybe some pain relief, but you wouldn't get the full effect of the cannabis itself because, like I said before, cannabis, THC, cannabinoids are, for the most part, fat friendly. So they need to attach and be broken down in your liver and your body, and they're attached to the lipids, and then they get dispersed throughout your system, throughout your body.
Wow. So okay, so for THC, sorry, hold on, everybody. So
THC.
THCA, sorry, it's a little blurry
Mm-hmm.
because I'm working on it here. Okay, so THCA consumed instead of smoked will have anti-inflammatory and it's a sleep aid, but it takes longer for your body to process.
Well, right. That's the THCA.
Yeah.
Once we burn off the A, where you decarboxylate the flower, or you do a long and slow, at a certain temperature, extraction infusion process, then
Mm-hmm.
the THCA is burned off. The A part is burned off. At
Mm-hmm.
that point, now your THC is ready for consumption. And if
Wow.
it's in a fat, it would be absorbed slower through your body. If it's in an alcohol extraction, aka a tincture,
Mm.
then it's a faster acting infusion because your liver doesn't have to break down the fat and it doesn't have
Right.
to attach it to the lipids, etc.
So my question is with regards to this, because of the THC and everything that's in there. So is it better just to smoke? You're saying it's better to smoke it because it'll be
I'm not
easier.
saying
No, I mean for the absorption of the infusion,
right.
it's
So
much
I'm
easier.
not saying necessarily that it's better to smoke it because we all know there are carcinogens
Yeah,
involved with
that's
smoking
what
and
I'm thinking of.
combusting
Yeah,
anything that you're smoking, anything that you're inhaling
yeah,
into your lungs that's not pure air.
yeah.
At one point or another, might affect your mucous membrane and
Right.
all of
Yeah,
that. So I'm not saying that smoking is healthy, but it is faster acting for getting the
correct,
cannabinoids.
correct.
Now you will have more benefits and a variety of benefits in infused foods and extractions as
Mhm.
opposed to smoking and
Oh,
longer acting effects. So the anti-inflammatory benefit of it is definitely going to be
present.
more effective when it comes to infused foods and in edibles and extractions as opposed to smoking.
Hmm. Would you ever like vaporize it or not? Like put it like in a vaporizer?
Right. There's these vaporizers that vaporize actual flower, and then
Okay,
there's extraction processes
okay.
that make those vape pens that you see people walking around with now. Those are very popular. So
Hmm.
vaping cannabis has been um, very popular and trending since 2017 or so,
Hmm.
2016, I would say. Out west, I saw my first pens in Colorado and in California. And then
Hmm.
people locally in New York and on the East Coast in New Jersey and Florida have also been making their own pens. But, there's a risk to that. It depends on who's making it and the process that they're using. Are they using solvents? Because the big danger with what you're consuming is what's in it, who's making it. So know what you consume, know what you smoke, know what you eat is a major component
Right.
of cannabis. If you partake in cannabis consumption, you're probably someone who's either self-medicating, self-dosing, and using it for some type of aid, whether it be just anxiety relief or lack of appetite or sleep aid or pain relief.
Hmm.
Some people just need it to relax. And some people are obviously also consuming it recreationally, which is fine also. But if you're taking that route, if you are a cannabis consumer, you're probably a person who's consciously looking for a better quality of life or a better alternative
Right,
than
right.
cigarettes, alcohol,
Hmm.
prescription medication. And so you definitely want to know your provider, your processor, extractor, and the person who's purveying, processing your edibles or whatever cannabis products that you're consuming.
Correct. So circling back. All right. So the high is 500, and is there like a moderate? The moderate would be what number?
So the 100 milligrams could still be very high dosage for someone. Even the 10
Okay.
milligrams could be high dosage for someone like yourself. I don't think that you consume cannabis edibles often, and if you do, it's news to me because I haven't seen or heard you. But let's say someone who doesn't often consume edibles has a 10 to 20 milligram piece of edible, their reaction, their effects might be way more intense than someone like me who's been consuming edibles for about 10 years or so. Now you're talking about someone who has a lower tolerance versus someone who has a much higher tolerance. That's me, higher tolerance. And the person with the lower tolerance is now consuming something that they weren't ready for. So is 100 a mild dosage? That depends on the person. That's why this industry and this product itself, infused products, there's so much more we're discovering. There's so much more research and science-backed data that we're scouring for, and we're constantly learning and educating each other on it.
No, for real. I was going to ask in terms of the foods themselves. For example, off camera, we were talking about that, like if you were to put it on like beef or chicken or fish or whatever have you, it would be like a dry rub. So my question was that, like, yeah, so like which meat would absorb it faster if it's in the dry rub form?
So that really depends on the process that you're using to cook, because there's sous vide, where you put the things in like a airtight packaging, and then you drop it in that water, which is like a temperature controlled boiling water. Right. There's sous vide machines, and that would be a very clean and effective way to infuse a sauce or a dry rub into a protein like fish or meat, beef, pork, or chicken. And for the most part, that really varies, because at that point we're adding, for the most, usually we would be adding fats into those sauces. So like olive oil based chimichurri sauce, a butter based cream sauce, or a vodka sauce that also can have some tincture in it too, would also have some butter and cream in the sauce itself. This is not taking bottled sauces and just adding or sprinkling some raw cannabis or even decarbed cannabis, because that's not necessarily how it works. There's some science, attention, and detail that goes into this. So the quality of infusion, I would say, really pertains to the quality of product that we're infusing. So the higher the fat content and the higher the quality of that fat, the better absorption for your body also, because your body is more effective at metabolizing these higher fat, higher quality fats like olive oil, avocado oil, grass-fed butter, tallow, which is a beef fat, that sort of thing. I typically like ghee butter because it extracts some of the lactose out of the traditional butter, and I always go for grass-fed butter and extra virgin olive oils, avocado oil, and tallow, that sort of thing.
Oh, what about here's my thing. Why is it so much easier to do like edibles in sweets than it is versus like something a little saltier?
It's not easier at all. No? It's just more common, because I can infuse scrambled eggs for you right now, and it wouldn't take that long. It would be quicker than baking cookies or a brownie or doing stovetop crispy treats, which are very common and popular edibles like cereal bars, granola, that sort of thing. So you can infuse savory, you can infuse your bacon, you can infuse your eggs, like I just mentioned before. You can smear some homemade infused mayonnaise on some Ezekiel bread toast, and that's it. That's quicker than
Yo, yo,
throwing.
yo, what about chopped cheese, son? What about chopped cheese now?
Chopped cheese is definitely coming up on one of our next events. We're looking to make chopped cheese and serve
Mm,
it ready, hot, fresh, and ready. Habibi store, hopefully better quality, but Habibi store style.
that's good though. No,
Definitely.
I think the funny part is with this entire thing is that it's taken on a life of its own. Like,
Right.
it's become, like you said, on trend and cool to do it in
Hmm.
terms of, attending an infused party, making
Hmm.
sure you educate yourself properly and that you have that experience. It's almost getting up there with like, hey, I went to my first bar or I went to my first strip club. It's like, no, now it's like I've been
Hmm.
to my first infused party.
Right.
Like, you should try it. It'd be something nice.
Yes, it's very popular. It's trending.
Yeah. How difficult is it to find a good location to host your parties?
Oh, that's like you can't, but like there's places that are okay. They'll take your deposit. They've taken my money to hold and book a date. And, I talk to them about the process and what happens. They know that I want a smoke friendly venue where people can consume and smoke and also consume my infused foods and we can serve it. And I can talk about my infusion on every level and every course as we bring out, my staff and I brings out these courses and the meals. And people have canceled on me the same day. They're like, oh, my partners, they just don't see the value in it, or they don't want to run the risk because of the smoking. Now, these are places, there's been places that are full cigar lounge, hookah bar ready. They have those ducts, that duct that sucks out the cigar smoke or the hookah smoke, those
Uh-huh.
vents. So they have those vents so they can easily clear out
Yeah.
their venue from the weed smoke, but for whatever reason, they'll cancel. So to answer your question, it's been a
Ooh,
battle for the last 5 6 years.
dang.
Um, Finding venues and finding places is a big deal. If you know of a place that has a kitchen and has more than one bathroom and is smoke friendly where we can smoke our cannabis in there and has a sink and running water and hot water, because it sounds like silly questions, but those are legitimate questions that you need to
No, yeah, absolutely.
find out.
Um, well, one little fun fact in case you haven't guessed, when Manny mentioned chimichurri, that's definitely something Dominican, folks. Yes, he is Dominican, folks.
I'm half Cuban, half Dominican. I'm from 172nd and Broadway in the Heights. Shout out to my people in Washington Heights on the First and on the Deuce. And I moved to Jersey in the middle of high school, freshman year of high school.
Hmm.
I've been back and forth all my life. I'm a New Yorker at heart, but I love the convenience of living in Jersey. And I still hold a residence in New York City. So I'm bi-statal. I'm a New York and New Jersey guy. I'm in both states.
No, absolutely. So in terms of the cuisine, w- have you done, infusions of the common staple foods?
Yes, yes, common staple foods: mac and cheese, penne alfredo, penne vodka, meatloaf, steaks,
Hmm.
uh, churrasco, Dominican and Cuban food. We had the Cuban infused dinner back in April with White Boy Kev out of Washington Heights. Shout out to my brother, White Boy Kev, a legacy operator. We used his Cuban black haze to infuse the meal that day. We spoke about the active terpenes, the THC percentage. And so that day we served congri, which is a black bean rice. Dominicans call
Mm.
it moro. And we had a congri, we had yuca, fried yuca with a mojo aioli. We had croquetas. I'm sure that you know jamon, croquetas de jamon, ham croquettes. And we had ropa vieja, which is a shredded beef stew, a shredded stew beef. And for the dessert, we had a multi-layer. strawberry ice cream cheesecake cake. So we had a level of infused vanilla sponge cake. For the most part, we like to use all organic or green ingredients. And then
Wow.
we had our strawberry ice cream cheesecake under that with a graham cracker crust on the bottom. And for some people, they like the caramel drizzle. Some people don't like that much sweet. So we asked.
Do you have a website that we could show the public?
For the most part, now people can go to my Instagram, Manny Infused Chef. They can link me there. They can contact me there. We do private dinners. We do meal plans. We do catering. We'll do one-off events here and there when we'll infuse your birthday cake or infuse your party. We use different locations. If you'd like to have an infused party, you can reach out to us. If you'd like live entertainment at the party or the infused experience at the party, we go into all of those details and service different levels according to people's needs.
Let me see if this lovely server here will cooperate with me today. Hopefully, let's see. All right, let's see if I can get this on here. Sometimes this program likes to give me un par de cabeza.
Mm,
Let's see if it'll work. Fingers crossed. Let's see.
that's it, Manny Infused Chef. Right there, the name you have there at the bottom. It's
Yeah.
Manny underscore infused underscore chef.
Yep. Let me see. Nope. All right. So I will definitely, um, definitely put this up for the interview. So, Manny, thank you for your time. It's
Thank you
been
so
fun.
much.
It's been magical. And thank you for educating me about this. See, now you talked about all these delicious foods, and I'm like, dang, I haven't had ropa vieja in a while. O un buen morito de habichuela negra.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, oh, wait, it's going to be infused. I'll probably eat it all and not know it.
We would make it very light, so we would make it to your liking, so that way you're functional, you have a good time, and you'll have a good night's sleep, but you won't knock out instantly.
Oh. So, Maddie, thank you for your time and keep on doing the good work that you're doing. And I hope your business keeps on flourishing for many more years to come.
Thank you so much.